saying. There's a lot of software stuff I've been doing in the background, if you can't tell, to make stuff work. But we should be getting live now. That Trump, while he decries the big tech and big media, it's all he's ever cared about. He only cares about the big stuff. He only cares about the real networks. There's nothing about Trump that says that OAN is enough for him. That's a sign of that's the kind of network you want. One America Network, news network. Oh, it's technically OANN, One America News Network. But there's a One America Network that's the overarching network of them. And thanks everybody for joining us in the chat room. I see you guys. And I apologize for the delay. I ran through 3 pieces of software and they all crashed. So this is me getting it on the air live while we're going. But while Trump derides big tech, big media, the mainstream media, all that stuff, he begs for its attention. He has no interest. No, he can't. And on a personal level, I get it. I get it. I mean, you want to be on the big dogs. You don't want to be, feel like you're on the leftover network, And that's where he is. Like, if you see where he's giving his interviews right now, he recognizes these are the only people that are coming knocking. And eventually, if you don't start saying yes to that stuff, nobody's gonna come knocking anymore. Nobody cares. And that's the amazing part to me in all this, is that he's lost his Facebook page for the next 2 years. And this is so. For those of you who don't know, this was just announced yesterday. I imagine most people do. Thank you, Hal Vickery, and welcome for flight insurance in case you crash again. Thank you. I might need it. Yes. Facebook said on Friday that Donald J. Trump's suspension from the service would last at least 2 years, keeping the former president off. Yeah, so he'll get a review in January of 2023. With the idea being that you can... What have you been doing? What did you say? Okay, now look, 3 weeks ago, when you said you're the shadow president and you did it with a paper hat in a restaurant, and Mike Flynn said we all need assault rifles and we all need to head down to the courthouse to shoot us some revenuers. Were you kidding? What was that about? You guys, these are jokes, right? This is the silliness. So, there is I don't know what the turning point is. I do not know what the pickup will be that they go, you know what? Okay, this is fine. Other than him being effectively neutered politically and completely harmless. Someone else, I'll tell you what the difference will be. Someone else has to overpoweringly win the Republican, primary race before it even gets off the ground. Somebody has to be... That's right. And if he continues COVID braining his way through this and dealing with his, weird need to lie about the election, yeah, probably. I don't want to see them. Neither do you. This is where we all praise the opaqueness of Slacks. But I will say this, and we're going to take a break real quick. His craving of this, and that's what tonight will be about for him. And then heading off at the pass, the fact that Don McGahn testified, his attorney, Trump's former attorney, after fighting in a subpoena for 2 years, finally sat down in front of the Congress and had to, under oath, testify. Now, he did it in private, but the transcript's going to come out next Friday. That was the agreement the Republicans would get for when they timed it. We'll do it Friday night so that the news dump is the following week, and it'll happen late on Friday night. Well, that may hurt. It does for regular nightly news, but it certainly doesn't for us. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Megaworldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. sorry about the choppiness, guys. I'm going to switch to this, see if this makes it better, and then I'm going to, Johnny, I might bring you in on Zoom because Skype might be eating my lunch visually. So, yeah, let's do that. Okay, cool, because it used less energy last time. Skype has been very tough. Okay, all right, bye. So, and then I have to, hi everybody, hi chat room, and then there'll be a slight delay because my camera's catching up to where I am because everything is crazy. Hold on one second. And this guy's plugged in. Where is it? Oh yeah, it's back here. Hold on. Let's see, put that back in. There we go. This guy will wake this back up. And then, yay, and now I'm in sync again. And then I'll bring John in. And once I can find Zoom, wherever that is. There it is. Okay. And then as soon as I can bring him in, then I will have it. There we go. Da-da-da. And new meeting. And John in. Let's see. Join computer audio. Hi, chat room. Excuse me while I deal with this aspect. See, copy invite link. There you go. Sending that to Johnny Million. Sending it back to him. Oh, yeah. I love making all this stuff work in just a few minutes. Trying to fix it again. Driving me crazy. Everything's choppy and it makes me nuts. There we go. He's coming back. We'll see if it works. I hope so. These are your choices, folks. I can sing through the technical stuff that I have to deal with, or I can, I guess, well, there we go, black. I don't want that. I want this camera. There we go. Or I suppose I can do my British accent, but there you go. And it's level 3 hype train. Let's do this. Hype train. We're almost there. Level 2. Come on. I check it. Boom. And everybody on YouTube's going, what's a hype train? I don't know. How can I help? You can subscribe on Twitch. That's the only way it works. But it's really fun. Let's see if Johnny Main joins us in there. I just sent him the link. He's opening it up. We'll see.
1 minute.
Excellent. Thank you. Hopefully his stuff starts up with some speed. There we go. But at least we got a little bit, it's a little more fluid. And then as soon as he comes on, I don't have 2 versions of myself on screen, and then it'll work better. Love the singing. I do the same thing all the time. Yeah, when everything's falling apart. You got hacked on Facebook, Jazz? How'd that work? Oh, there he is. Admitting Johnny Million. Letting him in and making him the pin. There he is. Hi there. Hey. Hey, there he is. And then we'll
I got the same kitty over here.
Yeah, I like it. It's a theme show. Okay, it's the choppiness is it's a little better, but not amazing. But we're working on it. We'll figure it out.
This is Damian Perdue of Think Theory Radio, Saturdays at 6 p.m. You're listening to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
All right, I think we are streaming. We're a little choppy, but I'm working on this. The software I normally use finally came back online, and then everything's, like, hey, it works. No, it doesn't. It's like it's this tug and pull. It just happens. But that said, we sound just fine in Chicago, I hope, and everything's going well in that regard. And this is why I blame big tech for all my problems.
Of course.
Yes, I'm. It's not that I'm dealing with the limitations of technology and the reality of actually doing all this stuff. It's that I'm being censored, but only certain frames are being censored. They're just cutting out certain. I'm not choppy. Just Facebook and all these other sites are just cutting out the really good stuff. So over the last, what I guess 3 months especially, Trump has transitioned into being a microblogger, and then he's shelved that, pushed it to the back, and now he's ready to. Basically, it was an embarrassing failure. The reason they shelved it was on 2 fronts. One, he thought he was going to go back to Facebook, and everybody knew that wasn't going to happen. But also, the analytics on it were hilarious. I mean, they looked like they look like Bitcoin will look when people realize it's on hard drives and anything can happen. It's good. When something it looks like stocks during the beginning of the pandemic under Trump. Everything just goes off a cliff, right? Everything just takes a crap. And so it shouldn't be surprising that he is pretending not to know it. Basically, his blog is still up and he still issues statements, but basically it's probably a Democrat and used to get him coffee. That's where he is. You know what I mean? Like, isn't that the answer for everything? So over the course of, the last 3 months, this is what he was going to do, right? And now he is doing, tonight he's doing this thing at the North Carolina Republican Party gathering. And according to, I think, was it Michael Steele who said this? I want to, no, it was a different one. One of the other Republicans who worked there, they say the reason that he is doing this Republican National Committee gathering tonight instead of launching a rally right away is because he's afraid no one will show up to the rally, because and believe me, they've been focus grouping this stuff. He's got maggots, he's got all your money, and he's got some people buying him failure insurance, okay? And there's a couple of ways they're doing that. They're testing the places where he can go and fill, where they think they could fill an entire auditorium without being booed half the time, because that's a fear. Because now he doesn't have the massive nature of the Secret Service. He's got Secret Service protection, but he's not going to have them running basically the rally for him like it's a camp. He's got to pay campaign people to do that if he's going to do it as an actual campaign event. And I have no doubt.
Yeah, about that. So, like, with the Secret Service detail, I mean, he used to have like a lot of Secret Service. So now when he does a rally, like how many people are around?
I mean, I think it's probably somewhere in the order of 10 is freshly off there. So, it dwindles after a while, and vacillates based on threat. But the reality is he knows this stuff is not working. I mean, he knows when Chanel Rion from OAN is the only person you can get to interview you in your office in New York. When you're in New York, you're not going on camera at Fox. You're not going on camera at CNN.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and that's the only one you turn out, and it's the only one that will give you basically the interview where you get to pick the questions. That's really where that comes from, because that's what you do when you're doing damage control. And his entire this is a damage control parade, in the same way that I personally believe that the Republicans push for, voter suppression, these, election security bills that they're pushing. I know we want to think it's all about us. I know we want to think it's all about Democrats and them stopping Democrats from voting and stopping us from winning seats and and I am here to tell you that they're pulling their hair out over what the voting is going to look like in 2022 right now. If you look at how the polls are going, who feels committed to voting, who's actually going to show up, who will vote for anybody aligned with Trump and those things. So you're going to have even if you have a third of the party split off into this conservative independent crowd, which was largely what happened post George Bush after the Iraq and Afghanistan wars and his handling of 9/11 and mission accomplished and all that kind of stuff, that after that happened, that was one of the things that allowed Barack Obama to be elected as a first-time senator and, as one of the youngest president in history. One of the reasons that happened was because the guy before screwed the pooch so bad. And in a lot of ways, the more Trump picks on Biden for being, old and doddering and forgetful and what have you, the more he points to. I do not know why
they picked that battle. It's such a bad idea.
It's yeah. Well, and also all it does is continually point to the fact that, he's the worst candidate ever. He can't put a sentence together. He's got dementia, and you lost to him by 7 million votes.
To him.
So what chance do you have for any type of political comeback unless it's the whole thing's a fraud, I actually won? This is, you have to understand, not only is this Trump's, perceived path back to some sort of political clout and power, it is the only path There is no way home for Trump in terms of having political worth again if the election was sound and he lost fair and square. Because everything he has set up and the last year of his presidency would point any sane person away from even considering him to give them a lift to the airport for fear of their own safety. Because I mean, that's obviously is a bad analogy because he can't drive. But I don't know that he has a driver's license. I don't know that he's ever had one. I know
that's kind of a New York thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, right. But it's also a rich boy New York thing where, I mean, he's not always there. He's got a resort down in Florida. This was all happening at the same time. New Yorkers, permanent New Yorkers, I understand why they don't drive. You know what I mean? But somebody who, travels a lot, goes all over the world, is an argument there. You know what I'm saying? That you would pick it up somewhere for that reason, even if only just the adventure travel part of being a rich person. So that aside, Trump is hanging, everybody feels like Trump is hanging everything he has on the idea that the election was stolen. Well, I'm here to tell you that's his only option.
Yeah.
There is no there. There is, unless he can convince a vast majority of Republicans that it was stolen and that he should have won. And either he feels like in his magical worldview, he gets reinstated in August. Not happening, not even an issue. I'm like, don't even sweat or fret about the idea that he's pushing this terrible thing because it's such a magnificent joke. It doesn't matter. But again, I don't care if a giant swath of Republicans don't trust elections for the next 10 years. That just helps my political goals. It might even bring some even-keeled Republicans to the table in states that aren't going to elect Democrats anymore, right? Because in the primaries, it's usually the activist class that, in a lot of ways, that picks who's going to be running, not the average run-of-the-mill voter. And in Trump's case, if that was his people, right? They were picking the Marjorie Taylor Greens. They were picking these kind of like QAnon level Republicans, because who was showing up at the primaries for these things and voting for the candidate that showed the most fealty to Donald Trump, that supported his views and ideas and his plans and would vote with him 110% of the time. And so they picked the people that got in. Well, those are the very people right now that are the most disenfranchised by the idea that Trump lost and couldn't have possibly lost. He couldn't have possibly. It must have been rigged. I mean, our votes go to China and they go to Germany and they go to Ireland and all this stuff. Like, how do you motivate those folks to not show up for just a general election, but to show up for a primary? I mean, talk about like just futility upon futility. If you genuinely believe that, what a horrifying circumstance Republicans find themselves in. Now, it's a bed they made themselves and they got to sleep in it. That's not my problem. Again, I'm not upset about any of this. I'm just, I'm not surprised that they are chasing this guy around. And where he is taking them is the absolute edge of lunacy. But in his...
And there's so many think pieces about it, like, oh, now what? Now what?
Now nothing.
They know it's happening.
Right. They and Trump knows it's happening. And it's one of the reasons why he's going to these embarrassing places. And, he's going to, instead of having a rally, he's going to a North Carolina Republican convention-y gathering thing to pick who's going to run. Like, no one cares. It's state politics. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. If former presidents started showing up regularly, driving the national level attention to the party convention-y kind of things in general, it'd be worthwhile. But in his case, it's just a fall off a steep publicity cliff. And that's the only place that, where he's caught. So he wants CNN and Fox, he's getting OAN. He wants big rallies like he had. He's talking to the North Carolina Republican Party. He wants Facebook and his Twitter followers back, and he's got Rumble, and he's not even on Gab, Parler, or Telegram, right? There are people carrying his microblog to it. But here's, and we have to take a break, but here's the one thing that I want to remind you that is the primary factor in all of those things. The biggest aspect of all those things, Trump's problems with social media, Trump's problems with getting interviews and falling through the cracks digitally, Trump's problem with having any clout within the party that has any meaningful legs to it, is that the Biden administration is being incredibly successful at fielding multiple challenges that are very daunting, and they are chipping away at each of them. And all of them sound infuriatingly normal.
Yep.
How are we going to get our Afghan allies out when we're going to get out of Afghanistan by September 11th is the goal. And we got a lot of people over there that might be in danger that have helped us during, the conflict there. We need to bring them in as asylum seekers into the country, and that's got to be expedited. That's a problem the State Department and the White House are dealing with right now. That sounds pretty darn normal. That's a problem that should have been dealt with over the last 2 years. It was one of the reasons why Trump couldn't get out when he wanted to get out, because that's part of the process. He'd set this May date. They extended it to September so that they could get these folks out. And they will be bringing them over. Somewhere in the order of 113,000 people will be brought out of Afghanistan. They're families and people who helped us fight the Taliban, who would be murdered for doing so. We're moving them over here. That's part of the process. That's why September 11th. That's why it's a slog. That's why it's difficult. It's not because of soldiers on the ground you have to deal with. That's part of it. The other reason, the unemployment, when it fell to 5.8, it was supposed to stay at 6.1, and it was successful. It went down further. And even the news is running with, well, there should have been more jobs added, but it's because you didn't add jobs. People went back to the jobs they had. It's not the same metric used during normal recessions and that kind of stuff. It's a totally different thing. So we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. You can also go to fwank.com, F-W-A-N-Q.
Oh, is that live?
Oh, yeah. Fwank. It's not quite Frank's speech, the Mike Lindell thing, but it's the next best thing. Fwank, spelled with a Q and a W. And we're doing a heck of a job over there. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll be back right after.
Right on, Brownie.
Yeah, heck of a job. Heck of a job, Brown Noser.
That will never get old.
No, it won't. Oh, this is so here. I'm gonna. There's a. Where's this? Is this from? Yeah. I got to send you an article on here, or actually, yeah. Hold on.
Yeah, you can send it on the chat.
I can indeed. There you go. There we go. Copy und pasting the things. And then we'll go.
Can you see the boop?
The boop?
On my.
Yeah, the boop of the dog nose. Yes, I can. Hold on one second. Opening the chat.
Oops, I forgot to change my name.
That's okay. It's vanished anyways. I'm pretty pulled in on your facage.
Oh boy. So you can't see the cat?
No, you can see the cat. The cat's there.
Okay, good.
It's pretty good. Yeah. Hold on. We'll do this right there. Here you go.
At once diminished and dominating. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie Haberman.
Oh, Maggie.
It's always her.
Maggie, I shouldn't have tried anymore. Yeah.
Lisa says hi.
Hi, Lisa. Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
And big hugs to Lady B again. We're so glad you're there.
Yeah. It's
chat room, everybody. Lady B's with us today. So hi to her.
Hi, chat room. 20 seconds.
Okay.
20 seconds, chat room. Be ready.
Yeah, right. Get it on. Come on. Let's go. That's great.
Reminds me of Scooter on the Muppet Show.
Yeah. Let's see. I gotta find. Let's see. Yeah. Here we go.
I'm Art,
I'm Bobby.
the host of Where Are They Now? Now let's get back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
Hey, listen.
Yeah, fantastic. That's the hardest Chicago accent we've had pulling into our show in a long time.
That's intense.
It's fantastic. I haven't, not since Dennis Franz on NYPD Blue. A lot of people thought he had a New York accent. That's adorable.
Can we swing by Portillo's? Get some cheese fries?
Gotta. After we go to Homer's for old time's sake. So
Homer's.
Oh, Homer's. So romantic. The just so you know, the unemployment numbers unexpectedly dropped from to 5.8, and the Biden administration is saying September seems like a good time to sunset the extended UI benefits. Now, obviously, there's enough money in the till as the dwindling numbers of people on unemployment insurance move into extensions where they haven't activated what they got, because not everybody, by the way, is taking their UI right now. And in some of the states that have gotten extensions, even though the extra benefits extend through there, you've got more money in that UI account. So a lot of people, if they lose their job or transition over the summer or what have you, they'll have more into the fall and into Christmas protecting them. So it will kind of boost Black Friday, all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of, Fed finagling behind the background. But the federal unemployment benefits that, like obviously Republican states are cutting these at a high rate because they're of the belief that it is making people lazy.
Is it making people? It's making your voters lazy. If it's anyone.
Yeah. Obviously, we'll get into some of the why the Republicans seem to need to fight back against things like infrastructure and even make it. I feel a little silly saying why the Republicans make something like infrastructure even partisan, but they made masks partisan. We'll talk about some of the Fauci emails as well. I don't know if you caught any of that hilarity.
Yeah.
But in a desperate attempt to, wrest the party from Donald Trump, Rand Paul is throwing himself in front of every COVID bus he possibly can. And this is, by the way, this is from the article we were talking about right before the break, and from the New York Times with Maggie Haberman and Annie Carney. Let's see. Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, commutes to New York City from his New Jersey golf club to work out of his office in Trump Tower at least once a week, slipping in and out of Manhattan without attracting much attention, or quite frankly, deserving it. These are all my asides. The place isn't as he left it. Many of his longtime employees are gone, so are most of the family members who once worked there with him, and some of the fixtures of the place, like his former lawyer Michael D. Cohen, who have since turned on him. Mr. Trump works there mostly alone with 2 assistants and a few body men. Yeah. This is the book, folks. And remember when I was kind of joking about him Howard Hughesing himself after the election?
Right.
I'm just saying.
No joke anymore.
No, it isn't. So his political operation has also dwindled to a ragtag team of former advisors who are still on his payroll, reminiscent of the bare bones cast of characters that helped lift a political neophyte to his unlikely victory in 2016. Most of them go days or weeks without interacting with Mr. Trump in person. That certainly makes work easier, I suppose. But as he heads to the North Carolina Republican Convention on Saturday night in what is billed as the resumption of rallies and speeches, Mr. Trump is both a diminished figure and an oversized presence in American life, with a remarkable and many say dangerous hold on his party. Even without his favored megaphones and the trappings of office, Mr. Trump looms over the political landscape, animated by the lie that he won the 2020 election and his own fury over his defeat. And unlike others with a grievance, he's been able to impose his anger and preferred vision of reality on a substantial slice of the American electorate, with the potential to influence the nation's politics and weaken faith in its elections for years to come. Again, I don't have a problem with this. Ophelia Payne, thank you for the super chat. I would like to say to maggots, Trumpsters, Republicans out there. I, unlike your current hero and former president, I guess current president because you still believe he is, I want you to vote. I do. I want you to trust that your vote counts. I want you to be participating in our elections. I want everybody in this country to vote every election. It's meaningful. It matters. You want to make your choices like an adult. You want to pick the best possible choice in front of you instead of going, lesser of two evils, I don't care, flip a coin. Like, you treat it like the adult decision it is. Treat it like you have the choice to put your child into a car driven by one of two people. Make that decision wisely, right? So, thank you, Lauren. I need you to know that even though I detest some of your political ideas, and I am horrified at your justification for some of those ideas, and I also don't believe that your plans, when they are even, I guess, dreamt up within the think tanks that like you believe in, like Heritage Foundation and Koch brothers and all that kind of stuff. Not only do I think they're awful, but I also think they wouldn't work the way you wanted them to, even if they weren't awful. They're ineffective. They create more problems. You're bad at governing. You don't want to do it. I don't even know why you run. Most Republicans run like, government can't do anything right. Elect me so I can prove it.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest sales pitch in the world. Lupe says that there's 22 QAnon people running for Congress in their area. Yeah. Well, unless Trump can motivate his base to come out and support those folks, they haven't got a shot. And those are the very people Trump is turning away. Let's see. And unlike others, still blocked from Twitter and Facebook. Even after the article's written. He's struggled to find a way to influence news coverage since leaving office and promote the fabrication of the 2020 election was stolen from him. Some party leaders, like Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, are pretending he doesn't exist anymore while being deferential when Mr. Trump cannot be ignored. So they basically just go, I object. But I think, we're going to block everything that Biden does, but that's opposite of what Trump would do. Others, like Rick Scott of Florida, have tried to curry favor by presenting Mr. Trump with made-up awards to flatter his ego. That was the bowl that he brought him, and keep him engaged in helping Senate Republicans recapture a majority.
Bowl.
Oh, yeah, they gave him a candy dish. I don't know, in case he decides to do Miss Teen USA again. And barf. Michael Beschloss, who we love, and many people know him on MSNBC as a presidential historian, said Trump had defied the model of ex-presidents who lose an election and tend to fade away, and the experience of Richard Nixon, who was treated like a pariah in the way Trump has managed to avoid. I mean, he lives in a different era too, because social media is such that everybody exists, and we spend so much time. The most worrisome aspect, I would say, of social media, and this happens to both sides of the aisle, is the odd need to rehab awful people constantly, but destroy imperfect good people because of minor shifts. We'll talk about that on the other side of the break. But tonight's going to be hilarious. I have no doubt. I will more than likely stream it on Monday. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. Thank you, sweet
Hi,
Indigo.
everybody. This is Santita Jackson. Join me on The Santita Jackson Show, Mondays through Fridays, 6 to 8 a.m. morning drive on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, where facts...
Chicago, yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I muted it, and then I saw the little meter go down. I was like, okay. Sorry, that hour just zipped by. I have so much I want to talk about, but I was dealing with so much tech at the beginning of it that I feel like it just vanished. I feel like it just went away. I have a question I want to ask. I figured I don't have the answer. Why is the GOP against Biden being in office, but they want Trump back in office? Why do they want a corrupt monster in office? Because he's their monster. Well, I don't know. Josh is saying you're not going to stream it tonight. I don't think so, because I don't think they're going to live stream it. I think they're going to post it after the fact, because it's not a live event. It's not like CPAC. So Trump's gathering tonight. They'll post it later, or I'm going to have to go dig it up on YouTube someplace. Yeah, I'm trying to find the name of the woman at OAN that, I mean, it's not Chanel too, because it's this, yeah, I'm sorry, what? Oh my Lord, this is so good. Hold on one second. Donald J. Trump. I read these things so you guys don't have to.
Thank you.
News. Statement. Where is this? Why is it? I guess not. All right. June. Okay. Already June. Okay, so is this? Yeah. So he did one on Friday. That's Great Master Antonio. Where'd it go? What a mess. Looking up this. Where's it? I honestly, maybe he took it down.
Possibly.
He does that. He does that a lot more. Oh, good Lord. Okay. A great honor to be speaking at the North Carolina GOP convention tomorrow night. I understand the place will be packed, all records broken. North Carolina produced a big victory for us without a fraudulent outcome. He squeaked by. Missing ballots, illegal voting, dead people voting, and all of the other Democrat tricks. Before my election in 2016, everybody said North Carolina was going blue. Now they're saying that the great state of North Carolina is surging big for Republicans. Look at the results we produced. Thank you to Michael Watley and the state party. See you tomorrow night. Where's the one about?
That's a pretty good one.
Thanks. Did he shove that one in about?
Hell, I wasn't prepared for that.
I'm sorry. Yes. I'm sorry. Not my fault, guys. Yeah, he must have taken it down.
Hmm.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll just have to look at it in the article. Frustrated. Next time I'm in the White House, there will be no more dinners at his request with Mark Zuckerberg and his wife. It will be all business.
He doesn't know what that is.
Come on. Oh, yes. Trump won the murdered partners vote 100%. 100%. You know about that dude who his wife disappeared and he was on the news, doing a Scott Peterson crying for a return and all that stuff. And then turns out he murdered her and he used her ballot to vote for Trump. Because that's what she would have wanted. So I guess whenever anybody says there was fraud in this, you're like, yeah, well, not massive fraud. Yeah, but you got to admit there was some fraud. Well, yeah, there was. There was this Trump voter who murdered his wife and made her vote for Trump after she died. So there you go. You got a guy voting for somebody else illegally.
Yeah.
You got a dead person voting. And
20 seconds.
2 Trump votes, and the guy's and he's a felon. So the Trump's 2 Trump votes. There you go. Thank you. Oh, it's better to be infamous than not famous. Roger Stone.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you if the putrid sludge you're troweling out.
Damn, plus Facebook, pimp stick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So, welcome back to the show, everybody. So, during the break, we were talking about how Trump, there are areas where he absolutely ran away with the election. Like, he won, for those of you that don't know, 100% of the vote of people who murdered their wife and voted for Trump on their dead wife's behalf while the body was still missing. Yeah. Like, that coveted demographic. Trump won that, hands down, not even close. I mean, I don't know how you work on the get out the vote next time, Dems, to try and compete. But I mean, honestly, and let's go back to Maggie Haberman's article, because there's something in here that I wanted to point out that it was pretty amazing. Frustrated by the lack of coverage, he has expressed his anger in news releases that still refer to him as the 45th president of the United States. That's on his website. I went and looked for this quote that she's about to give on his site, and I can't find it. So I think he took it down because it was embarrassing. Next time I'm in the White House, there will be no more dinners at his request with Mark Zuckerberg and his wife. He said,
I don't understand that sentence.
I don't either. It will be all business. Is what he said.
There'll be no more dinners at his request.
Well, that's because he didn't invite them. Trump always needs you to know that he didn't want these. He had dinner with these people, but they asked him. He would never ask them, right? So Mark Zuckerberg, a person who is the closest living thing to Brent Spiner doing cosplay at one of his own conventions that exists in the world. This is a data reference for those of you that don't watch Star Trek and TNG. He needs you to know. He needs you to know that Mark Zuckerberg, who's a real billionaire, like a massive billionaire,
right,
a genuine billionaire. Trump needs you to know that a real billionaire had to come and kiss his ring and say, "I want to have dinner with you. I need to have dinner with you." And it had nothing. By the way, he doesn't realize though that those dinners at the White House were with the person who was the president of the United States. And unless Donald Trump was magically back in the White House, which he will never be, just for the record, just clear that up. Let's just move on from that idea and enjoy every time it's said for the absolute horrific joke that it is. That the only reason Mark Zuckerberg and his wife were meeting with a guy like Donald Trump was because he inhabits the White House and had his hands on the levers of power. That's the only reason. The only valid reason why they would even bother to do that. It certainly isn't for his charitable donations. It isn't for, Zuckerberg and his wife doing, their philanthropic endeavors. Like, you know what we really need, honey? You know what, while we're humaning, what we really need is a giant painting of Donald Trump that makes him look better than he actually looks.
Beep, boop, boop.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, cree, cree, cree. I'm completely convinced that Mark Zuckerberg in private speaks in fax tone. As soon as he turns a corner away from normal humans, it's scream, like an old AOL dial-up. Last week, he shut down his blog after hearing from friends that the site was getting little traffic and making him look small and irrelevant. Well, according to a person familiar with his thinking. Well, his thinking was, I don't want to look small and irrelevant. Not that, I look small and irrelevant, which he does. That it was, I have to say, as bad as Fwank was, Michael Lindell's failed launch of a website, his new social media platform, which does not exist. It is simply like a YouTube page for himself. Yeah. There is no social media there. it was worse. Like Trump's page is just random. It's like just basically a WordPress update page. It's amazing. It's with a shop, of course, and a bouncing and a bouncing. Donate $100 and make it monthly, whether you know that you've already clicked to make it monthly or not.
Right.
Some of his aides are not eager to engage with him on his conspiracy theories and would like to see him press a forward-looking agenda that would help Republicans in 2022. Yeah, a lot of us would have liked to have seen him take the coronavirus pandemic last year very seriously as it broke.
That'd have been something.
That would have been something, but it wasn't going to happen, and neither is this. So, the only way this happens is if magically Donald Trump suddenly is someone else. Like if Heaven Can Wait happens and the actual Warren Beatty, we wish him all love and safety, were to pass away and an angel went, "You're not done, Warren," and he puts him back in somebody's body, and he's like the first of three where he's clamoring to get out. The first one, would be in Donald Trump's body where he'd go, "Okay, at least I can do some good. I'll come out and say, I totally lost the election, and you know what? Who needs a Facebook page? I'm taking up fishing. I am going to start my own charity, and I'm going to build houses, and I apologize to Jimmy Carter." And then moves on to the next body, whoever that is, Matt Gaetz. Well, he just goes, "Cuff me." Some of his aides are not eager to engage with him on his conspiracy theories and would like to see him press forward agenda to help Republicans join 2022. People in his circle joke that the most senior advisor to the former leader of the free world is Christina Bobb, a correspondent with the far-right, eternally pro-Trump One America News Network, whom he consults regularly for information on the Arizona election audit. So he watches her show nonstop and
he's
calls
invested
her
in all that too.
Yes,
well, I guess he would have to be.
Yeah, that's all he talks about apparently.
Yeah.
He's going to bring it up tonight. I'm just going to call it. There's no way he doesn't. And not because he can't help himself and he's got to complain and he's a whiner, which he is, but because, again, he has no relevance unless he proves to a certain group of people that the election was stolen. If he lost fair and square, he's a loser. If he cheats to win, it still counts. Because the thing you have to remember about Donald John Trump is that he believes that if you go into court with the evidence on your side and you win, so what? You're not special. Anybody can win when the evidence is on their side. Trump thinks he's special when the evidence isn't on his side and he wins anyways. That's how he thinks that's how he knows he's amazing. That's how that's how he's like built up his opinion of himself over the years. His ego is largely based on the fact that he has managed to scam and sidestep all this stuff his whole life. And it's like I said, it's largely because they're afraid to pull the thread in New York and the real estate market. That will fall apart, by the way. One of the things about the pandemic that's changing New York real estate in a lot of ways is that even though there's a lag right now in people going back to office space in New York, and the primary thing about big cities is you gather there to do business. And what we learned in COVID is a lot of businesses that can do it can do it spread out all over the place. You can live in Wyoming as long as you got a good Zoom hookup. And there are a lot of people who are interested in doing that, especially the heads of the company. The bigger, you used to go to the tower because the boss and all those guys met in the big building, and then all the staff worked below them and all that kind of stuff. Well, now a Montana ranch with 19 Putin-sized Zoom screens is a much better way to meet with your staff for a lot of these people who aren't people anyways. And it makes it easier to fire and get rid of. You're never there when somebody goes postal. So the stiff arming of the workforce is going to continue. And so it's very, New York is predicated on that. Those apartments, and what gives them value is the fact that they're close to the media center of the world, the Wall Street and those businesses. And that will come back, by the way. That's not going to stay. We're not going to stay in Zoom world forever. There will be a lag back to it, but people will need to meet face to face. Business will happen faster when you meet face to face. There's no lag time on a person who's sitting at the desk next to you, or the video going down. So That will always be a part of it, but it's going to be a slow thing to get back. Well, the people who own those giant buildings, who are like Donald Trump, who've been, layering money and hiding it in the Caymans and hiding tax revenue and losses and all that stuff, they're easier to go after when those buildings are half empty. It's really hard to go after when we're going to upend this entire building and everybody there is going to have to sign a new contract with a new leaseholder, maybe, and maybe they'll leave and we'll lose this business. And they gave deals to their friends, so maybe they're criminals. And we got to look into everybody on every floor, like Trump had the Russians running prostitution and drugs and gambling out of the 22nd floor, I think it was, at Trump Tower. All that stuff was a Gordian knot. Well, a lot of the leftover of both Trump losing office and leaving New York, and the fact that there's the ancillary effects of COVID and how business is going to rebound in New York City, the crossroads of the world, is going to give them a wedge point. And maybe even people like me. Don't forget, you can super chat $6.66 to help me buy 666 Fifth Avenue. I only need a billion more people to help me. So, hey, there's 7 on the planet. We are mega worldwide. We're all over the place. If I could get all 7 billion people to just give me $1, then I could do it. And then the stuff that I would do with that building would irritate the Trumps and Kushners of the world forever and ever and ever, especially where I give Jimmy Carter and Rosalind their own floor, and I turn it into the second, Jimmy Carter, second Manhattan Presidential Library and Building School, where we train engineers and all of them, and they all pay for their work by designing houses and buildings for low-cost housing and affordable housing across the country. So we always have more real estate available than we have homeless people. I'm just saying that would be cool. I would do that in a heartbeat. So think about becoming a patron. Patreon.com/HalSparks. We're growing like crazy, but we're nowhere near the Ben Shapiro's, the Jordan Petersons, the Steven Crowders of the world, because we're the little show that could, and you can help out. Every little bit helps. We'll be back right after this. Thanks, Mark, for the 666 fund. Bless you. You can always Venmo 666 if you want, in any version. $66.60 wouldn't hurt. Although that does throw it off for me. I would, if anybody's going to do anything, just do $6.66. I think it looks better. If it's 4 numbers and there's a 0 on the end, it just kind of doesn't. I don't buy it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say no to $666. I'm not going to say, but I'm not asking that of everybody. I'm asking for a little from a lot, not a lot from a little. I think that's a better way to go, and that's
I think so.
that way it's more like a tip. Thank you, Brenda. Look at that. Bling. Thank you so much. There you go. There's some 666 super chats. Bless you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, and PayPal. Yes, paypal.me/HalSparks. You can send $6.66 there. It's how I pay for our little show that we do every Saturday as well, which we, now is an actual show. We're inching ever closer to buying 666. Yes, we are, Enrique. We are, absolutely. I'm trying to create some sort of fund for doing this. There's got to be a way that I can sock away all the 666s for some sort of purchase point. But I mean, that would be sweet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We need it. Mm-hmm. I agree. I would absolutely
30 seconds.
Thank you. That's what bugs me about Trump and even his phony millions all this time. Oh, thank you, Paul Newman, for euros even. So appreciate you for the Mega Worldwide tip from across the pond.
I'm sorry, Hal. 10 seconds, and I forgot to tell you we have Jim from Chicago calling in.
Okay, great. Is he mad about my Chicago accent? All right, don't worry. Fantastic.
This is Doris Davenport, host of The Doris Davenport Show, all local, all the time. Now let's get back to Hal Sparks' radio program, Mega Worldwide.
That's right. And by the way, I want to, we're going to get into the Fauci emails as well. And thanks everybody for the 666 donations. I appreciate that. Help in any way you can for us to buy 666 Fifth Avenue. And I know you're thinking there's no way you could afford 666 Fifth Avenue with this podunk little show and all this stuff. Well, I would like to say for the record, neither could Jared Kushner, and that didn't stop him. He couldn't afford it. Oh, bless you. And Norwegian kroner, I think, will absolutely help. Thank you guys so much for the support. So we'll get to those emails. We have a caller on the line. I want to get to him before I get into another, 2666. Rebecca, thank you so much. She doubled it, so she did, but in a better way. 1332. There you go, because of the economy. Who do we have on the line, Lady B?
We have Jim from Chicago.
Excellent. Hey, Jim, welcome.
I'm just thinking about Trump backing Pence for president, how it would be. You think his family would get behind Pence for his run for president? And they'll just go out there and they'll make those big rallies again, and Pence will be out there with a fourplex outfit on. I mean, but he's going to run. He's definitely going to run because the money's there for Pence, and I think he's going on a tour. He starts in February. He starts in a couple of months. And he's got,
I hear where you're going. I actually don't think Trump's going to run. I think this whole thing is quite frankly a ruse to raise money. Period. End of story. I think he absolutely has no plans of actually running because he'd have to spend that money on a campaign. He'd have to actually dole it out to volunteers and billboards and ads. This way he can just spend it on himself. And then what is his campaign ultimately? Calling into, Joe and Mika again in the morning in his pajamas and having them give him free airtime? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Anyway, thanks, Shell.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. I actually don't think, I don't buy it. I don't think, I've never really bought that he wanted to win. He looked miserable when he won in 2016. He hated it all the way out the end. He just doesn't like to be a loser. It's too late. He already is. And he's stuck with that forever. Sorry. And somebody in the chat room said 666 Fifth Avenue is cursed. Well, I will roll in there with some sage and fix that with my sunny disposition. Fear not. If anyone can bring sunshine, joy, and love into 666 Fifth Avenue, it's Hal Sparks. Get used to the idea. That's right. I spoke about myself in the third person. You kind of have to be in New York real estate. I'm just kidding. So, So the big story this week, of course, across the right-wing blogosphere, and especially in the panicked corners of YouTube about this, was that in the emails that were released through a FOIA request, there are a bunch of emails sent to Fauci by right-wing scientists, basically the same ones that doubt climate change, the same ones that think that that any form of transgenderism is just a mental illness. There's no reality to it. That think that more than likely think gay should have been left in the DMSR as a mental illness as well. Like that, they're that kind of scientific crowd. And he's getting emails and these things from physicists who go, I know a thing or two about epidemiology. And my study, when they're doing mathematical studies on available data within the limited scope of what they're looking at in February at the beginning of this thing. And the same thing that Fauci's saying when he would, like one of the emails, there's several that they are gotcha-ing. None of them are original. Everybody's kind of doing the same three. There's 3,326 some odd emails. And what happens? The right-wing blogosphere can find 4 that they can convince themselves is an aha. And all of them are, the main ones are from the beginning when everybody had an opinion. People are sending emails to him nonstop, 24 hours a day from all over the globe. And at a certain point, his responses are, thanks for your note. And because it's an auto reply, he sets his thing on auto reply, and you can tell the next 13 emails, the dude is sleeping. Thank you, Creative Queen. So you can recognize an auto reply, especially when it happens in the exact same wording multiple times. And then the difference when he's awake and he's like, can someone think about this? Can someone answer this? Can someone deal with this? Or he forwards stuff on to staff when they're dealing with stuff that's legitimate. A good portion of the stuff that's coming in the middle of the night that doesn't get referenced to him again in his morning briefing with the people who are up all night watching the emails because they were working in cycles. They're not bringing him the garbage. They're not going, I don't know if you know this, but there's this physicist friend that believes that God makes the sky mad, and he's one of Kevin McCarthy's constituents, and he wants you to know that he did his own study about hydroxychloroquine, and it's just like you can just hear the dial tone, just going through this. So they pick these these main four. The main ones being in the beginning where he's saying about masks. The primary one you'll hear the most is that he wrote early on that masks basically stop you from spreading it, but not you from getting it. The idea being, though, that the people who are asymptomatic, they didn't know at that point how much disease you shed while you were asymptomatic. Right. So you might not think you have it, but you might. And it was in the country longer than, earlier and more widespread than we knew. And as Trump was trying to keep his numbers down by not letting people on a cruise ship come home and not even just going through he didn't want them on the shore, even in isolation. They were going to come off the boat, go straight to rooms, not touch anybody else, be surrounded by people in PPE. And this idiot was like, we've got 64, I don't want it to be 79, right? That was the level of maturity we were dealing with at the time, right? And Fauci in the beginning, this February 4th email that they keep citing was saying to this person, like, I'm going to an airport, should I wear a mask? And he goes, well, it's really more about you spreading it than you getting it, because the particles of this are too small and they go through a regular cloth mask. Well, we now know that can they pass through by size? Yeah. Do they in volume when you're wearing a mask? No. And the severity of disease for a lot of people was caused by the amount of virus they came in contact with. So even wearing neck gaiters, which they said were ineffective because of the porous nature of the cloth, were ultimately effective. Pulling your turtleneck up has value in this situation, because even if you do get it and your immune system has to deal with the infection, you're not dealing with a lot of viral load. And a lot of the people who were frontline workers that we lost, who died because they, even though they were relatively healthy, got an enormous viral load from multiple patients breathing in a small space. And even the masks they were wearing had holes in the sides, and areas and gaps between the skin and face that they were able to get into, and it killed people. We now know this. There have been a multitude of studies since February 4th, since that email from Dr. Fauci, that specifically said, we've looked into it, and it absolutely slows the spread. And it absolutely lowers mortality because of the amount of disease that you take in. Like somebody in the chat room was like, damn, I forgot about the cruise ship BS. Right. I mean, think back. I mean, we all focused on, stick a light bulb up your keister and gargle some bleach, and maybe there's a way to get disinfectant in your lungs. People drinking fish tank cleaner because it was another form of chloroquine, and it was the only thing they could get their hands on. And the president said it works, so let's give it a shot. That one really
bummed me out. Yeah. Most people died.
Yeah. And I think the wife was in critical. Did she ultimately die? I know that her husband did.
I think just the husband died.
That's right. But Kale Link is saying, I've been pulling up my turtlenecks for years. I'm a real Bazooka Joe. Well, maybe that's why you don't catch the flu. But the point is that between, Fauci and all scientists operate on the best information we have and the most caution we can actually express without causing a panic. And then the most caution that's actually functional in terms of, if I warn you about this, will it actually help? Will it deter your behavior? Will I warn you about malls, but you'll go to airports? If I warn you about crowded places, what do you think a crowded place is? You can be in a small, like a tight group of people in the park, when it's really spreading around and a lot of people have it asymptomatically and are spreading it a lot, and not enough people are vaccinated or have had that particular strain, and therefore it's still bouncing around, where you're like, we were outside. And then you get a lot of people at picnics and you know, they were breaking up weddings in parks because of that very reason. And that turned out to be because a lot of older people who were going to these things thinking artificially they were safe because they weren't indoors in a crowded area were dying.
Yeah.
And yeah, like the thing that I keep going back to is we did, we got to take a break. I'll deal with this on the other side. There's one aspect of this, and I've never heard a right-winger be able to answer it. And I'm curious if somebody could. 773-763-9278. We'll be back right after this. I'll ask you the question on the other side.
Rick Unger.
What the heck is going on here? Everybody understands that there is coronavirus fatigue. You feel it, I feel it. I don't know how you could not feel it if you live in this country. You know, it's more inconvenient than being fatigued and annoyed. Dying.
I can hear
That's
Chicago.
more inconvenient.
Chicago,
That's more annoying.
Rick Unger, weekdays at 5 p.m. right here on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
It's true. Chicago, I can hear commercials and stuff, by the way. Just saying.
Sorry. Thank you.
That's okay. That's okay.
I have Robert from Florida and Electric Outcast.
Oh, yeah.
From the chat room.
Nice. Thank you. Who's this? Oh, and one of the things they keep bringing up is that he said he wasn't muzzled in the emails. Like in one of the emails, he said, "I'm not being muzzled in any way." And then he, of course, was muzzled after he said that.
What's he supposed to say?
Yeah. Also, this April 20th, once things started to go to crap, that one that these came up, it was like they said there will be no White House coronavirus task force meeting on Tuesday, April 21st. And Fauci replied, "Yikes, that would make 4 days in a row without a press conference for me, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and tomorrow." They were slowing the messaging. They're like, "You're not getting together." And then Trump would go out and talk. He'd say stuff. But you didn't want them talking. They just shut it down. Let's talk about that here.
We're under 30 seconds.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Aggie. Best wishes for you. Ton of people in here, like in these emails. There's so many.
And aren't they even like
now? Let's get back with House Sparks radio program Mega Worldwide.
Yeah, we were just flipping through the emails that the Washington Post has put up. They've got a multitude of them on there. They're all readily available, which is something that the right wing doesn't seem to understand. The Glenn Becks of the world, the Ben Shapiro's, the Tucker Carlsons, all seem to think that we can't go and look at the entirety of the email chain, or that we didn't all live through it and know that information was coming in and changing strategy based on new information the entire time we were there, including the fact that over the course of the first 6 months of last year, we all learned the value of masks over time along with the science. There were studies done in Denmark. I read one on my stream yesterday. There were studies in France. There were studies at the Mayo Clinic and Johns Hopkins, and all of them came up that if you wear a mask, the infection rate goes down. Period. End of story. And in the areas where infection rate goes down, not only does the infection rate go down, but also the death rate goes down because people are exposed to less virus when everyone is socially distanced and wearing masks. That's how it works. And no one is surprised by this. We're all adults. We also know that what they might have thought about masks, because they were really they think in terms of surgeons wear masks so that droplets from what they're carrying don't get the flu in somebody's wound while they're saying sponge, is one of the main reasons why a surgeon wears a mask is not to protect them from you, it's to protect you from them. They wash up, put on gloves, they wear a mask, so they, because they're acting out in the world. You've been in an ISO ward prepping for surgery. You haven't eaten for 24 hours. I hope, if you're a decent human being, don't do that to your doctor. They tell you not to eat before the procedure. Don't eat before the procedure. It's a mess. It's messy for people. It's wrong. And yeah, it's worse than, believe me. It's far worse. It's massive. I'd have to go full Stephanie Miller on it. It's a massive.
Captain's log.
I'm just saying you're in danger if that's the case. Now, before I get into the next things of the Fauci emails, we do have a couple of callers. Who do we have first, Lady P? Yeah, we do.
Robert from Florida.
Excellent. Robert from Florida. How are you, dear?
Hey, it's Hal. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey. Good. You were going to ask a question on the other side. I thought maybe I'd be the first to answer, but let's. What do you got?
Sure. Okay. So the main one being is that they are now pushing from these Fauci emails their belief that the virus was created in a lab in Wuhan on purpose and released on purpose. This is the premise that they're rolling with. And my question is, how does that not make Trump look worse? Because he was president, and people who watch the regular live stream have heard me say this ad nauseum, but I can't hammer this point home hard enough. That if this is true, then Donald Trump was president during the greatest bioweapon attack in our nation's history. Something that, like a multitude of 9/11s, just off the charts. And what was his response? He signed a trade deal with the people that did it, and then in the middle of the pandemic, when our people were on food lines, he sold them the largest pile of beef, pork, corn, and soybeans in American history. How does that not make you look like beyond just a bad president, but like the Chamberlain if he dated Hitler after the war?
I can answer that for you.
Okay.
They're never going to hear what you just said. They're never going to hear that on Fox, what you just said to them, about how stupid he is for saying, look at Janet, I just talked to him, that little flu thing, it's going to be fine. He's got it under control. It's not a problem. Don't worry, but it's going to be gone. So he's got all that. Not just those tips. There's like 8 hours of him kissing the guy's butt, right?
Oh, yeah, 15 times in 3 weeks. Like every time he was walking to Marine One, he had something nice to say about how she was being transparent and handling the pandemic, and that they were handling it very professionally, and our people were talking to them, and their people were talking to us, and we had people over there, and we were dealing with all this stuff. He just couldn't stop bloviating about how great they were. And then his whole thing about before the ink was dry, they had released this thing or whatever. Well, it's kind of the opposite, because yeah, go ahead.
People live in their bubble. Hell, people live in their bubbles, and they're never going to hear what you just said. But the thing is, too, is that he's also sold himself as a New Yorker that could play three-card Monte with anyone and win. You know, he's told everybody what a smart street guy he is, and look, he's gotten rolled over by the Chinese guy. You know, so that don't sell either. I mean,
right, exactly. Even if it's an accident, again, there is no way out of this where he doesn't look worse. Where, you know, like, yeah, that part stuns me.
Right. Here we are again. I mean, this time it's, you know, it's beef. You know, 3 weeks ago, it was a pipeline, you know,
Right.
and all
the hack. Right.
What's it going to take the Americans to wake the hell up over here? Is the Tostitos factory got to go out on strike? I mean, got to get locked down by some cyber attack? I mean, what?
Well,
I mean, it's all crazy with toilet paper.
It's a good question. And I would say, let's just go on the idea that you're aware that, let's say you're a person who's in a position of power, and you personally believe that China and Iran and maybe North Korea and maybe somebody else hacked our elections and tried to give it to Hillary Clinton, but you managed to win anyways. I don't know who you are in this scenario, but you can kind of follow along. And in this, you know that your own party and everyone around you is saying not only did they do it, but they're trying to do it again, and Russia's doing it constantly, and they're doing ransomware attacks nonstop, and it's affecting our economy, and they're doing everything they possibly can to kind of kneecap our economy, you know, for the next 15 to 20 years. Even if it's not Russia, China will, you know, is arguably stealing our intellectual property. There's all sorts of reasons why you would want CISA, you know, our cyber infrastructure group to be able to fight back across the board in all of our you know, law enforcement entities. And what does he do? After the election, because the guy who was working at CISA said there was no foreign interference in our election, he fires him.
Yeah.
And effectively leaves it without a head for the rest of his term. For months.
But that's also Russia told them to do that. Fire that guy. This way, we got something every 2 months when Americans go to, you know, fill up their tank. There's no gas, or go to the meat market. There's no meat, or if they try to get a beer, and in fact, you know, the trucks are all broken. You know, I could slow roll this, you know, one after another, and then, you know, I can play stupid and say, hey, you know what? I don't control the people in my neighborhood. You know, they, you know, I don't know. You know,
if anybody steps off the reservation, of course, I push them out the window. But I don't have control over my own people. They are patriots. They do what they love to do most of all. And if they don't patriot, like I like them to patriot, like a totally patriot can patriot, I push them out the window. Third floor, best, I think.
Well, we tried to make we tried to make extortion Olympic sport. You know, we hold children in. You know, no, but my wife has a great point. She says, listen, we got hackers here. Why not eye for an eye? When Joe goes to Switzerland to meet Biden, he can say, don't worry about it. We got it under control because you don't control yours, we don't control ours. You know what? If you don't want... And,
I don't want to. Right.
I don't think that's not happening.
Yeah, I don't want to. I don't want to get, you know, out in front of this, but that is exactly what's going on. And a lot of the stuff that we're seeing, you know, I don't necessarily think America is 100% behind the gatherings around Alexei Navalny's, you know, being in prison and people getting out in the street. But let's understand that the Russians got Americans out in the street to support Donald Trump and think that Hillary Clinton was going to show up at an event in Florida where she was going to be jailed, and they showed up, and that was all Russian Facebook BS. We're doing a lot of that stuff too. We are absolutely, and it's going to get, and they've warned them. They've told them that there's a real eye for an eye about this. The problem the Russians have, and maybe the problem we have too, is that we have a more sound cyber infrastructure in the country. We have more tools available to us. It's more reliable. There's less cheating going on. We all, you know, we use these things, and there's enough security protections in and amongst ourselves that we tend to use them a lot more. You know, the Ciscos and all that kind of stuff throughout everything. In Russia, they don't trust each other the same way because people are always ripping each other off, and oligarchs run the day, and it's a gangster state anyways. So you don't really trust the stuff. So a lot of they're double, you know, layering stuff with paper. So a lot of Russia's still very backward. Again, the entire economy is smaller than Italy or California. You know, yeah. So there's only so much damage we can do. You know what I mean? It's like that old that joke from the original British Office. Like they, you know, I heard they they dropped a nuclear bomb on Slough, cost $15 worth of damage. That, I mean, you have an issue with how much damage can you do to the cyber infrastructure of Russia when it sucks already? They don't even know where their nukes are. And if you think, by the way, that we're the ones really in danger from the rogue nukes that get loose from Russia, and that we're the only people who want them to make sure those things are tied up, ask Chechen rebels about that. Ask the Kazakhstani and Kyrgyzstani people. Right.
Right. How many breakaway republics that that they could not put a final? I think
absolutely.
When Russia, I think we went in there trying to buy them all. I think right when you were in like 92 or 93. I think we said, you know what? It's in our best interest to give Russia the money to go find these things, and we'll take care of them for them.
Yeah, we had a treaty with them that was doing precisely that. Absolutely. And they have loose arms that are more of their problems. They have loose Moabs that are a problem, but they're never going to get on a boat and bring them all the way over here and find a way to launch them. And the dirty bomb stuff that we were always afraid of, quite frankly, Russia's in more fear of that because it's close by. If you're Chechen rebels, and you believe that Russia is the big evil and America's second on the list, what are you going to do with that dirty bomb? You're going to try and get it in a plane and know that it can be tracked by the American satellites by its radiation and get it through somehow across the ocean in a boat, manage to get through the multitude of ports and locks that would check on it, or are you just going to load it on a truck and drive it to St. Petersburg as best you can? That's what and that's what they deal with all the time. So it's gnarly. We got to take a break. I appreciate the call, Robert. Always wonderful to hear from you. We'll get to EO on the other side of this one. But still, nobody can answer that question. How does any of the revelations that, the worst possible scenario, that the virus was man-made, on purpose, released from China to attack the United States, and Donald Trump was president when it happened, and all he did was play footsie with them for 6 months and then sell them all of our beef? How does that make him look like anything worse than the worst world leader in history? Chamberlain ain't got nothing on Trump. We'll be back.
I really do love Robert's Chicago running Florida accent.
Yeah, right. Me too. Yes, Florida man. I have a new version of lyrics for that I need to put out.
Oh wow!
I've been adding.
You found some more headlines?
Well, because I'm waiting for Matt Gaetz to get either charged or indicted or sentenced, and then he gets his own version.
We also have Pat from Houston, Texas.
Excellent.
He wants to know, what do you say? Oh, he wants to ask something about Trump, I think he
okay.
said.
All right. Well, maybe he can answer why he's the greatest. Maybe.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. The U.S. GDP is 21.4 trillion. Russia's is 1.7.
Wow.
And again,
1.7 what?
Trillion.
Okay.
And that's all oil and gas. Nobody buys a Russian car. Nobody buys a Russian washing machine. It's security software, which blows my mind. And a lot of infrastructure work that they have their people do for China and some, in the northern territories, stuff like that. Thank you, Cosmic Rose. You need a verse for DeSantis? Absolutely. How much of that 1.7 goes into Putin's pocket? Well, he's got his salary is $146,000 a year, U.S., and he's worth $200 billion. So a little bit of all of it?
Welcome back to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide. It's now time for the happy ending. Yay!
Absolutely. And we got a couple of callers on the line. EO's been waiting, Electric Outcast, from our chat room. How are you, EO? Hope you're well. Let's bring him on first, and then we got one more caller after that. Are you there?
What's up?
Hi, how are you? How you doing? How's the new job? Everybody's good? You holding it together? Life? Are you getting back out?
I'm back in school, but I did get my first vaccine.
All right.
Yay.
Which one?
And it's Team Pfizer, bitches.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, there we go. He's in Team Pfizer, so you know. I am as well. Johnny, I think you are as well, or did you got Pfizer?
No, I'm a Moderna guy.
Oh, the Moderna, right. Yeah, Mizzy and the Hizzy, right. He's a Motang Clan fan, which is cool. Any side effects? Did it lay you out for a day, or did you just get a little like sore arm like I did?
Yeah, mostly the sore arm, but but here's the real experience that I had. It happened after the fact. So as a proud Patreon member, I am also a proud member of your private Discord.
Yes.
And so I was sharing the news of not only to your server that I got my first shot, but I was also sharing the news to other servers. And the other servers, they were 50-50 like you would expect. You know, some people were pro-vaccine, some people were anti-vaccine.
Yep.
Well, one particular Discord server that I'm a part of, one of them shared this meme from Wayne's World, where you remember the scene where Wayne and Garth were carrying out those backstage passes to meet Alice Cooper.
Yes.
Well, somebody posted this meme. People with vaccine cards be like.
Oh, right. Yeah, sure.
Carrying backstage passes. Yeah. So, and I responded, and everybody else throwing a fit because they think it's political correctness. Well, one of the moderators in that chat room says, or your cybersecurity resource is freaking out about privacy laws and HIPAA violations. Well, you know, if people want to give away their freedoms, that's their right. My medical information is mine, and I'm not handing it out unprotected. And she also thinks...
Yeah, but there's like if you travel to other countries... to fly there, sometimes you need to have been vaccinated to go to some places. This is not whether or not you've had the disease. Quite frankly, the only information about your medical history is whether you have natural immunity, technically, because it means you've had this disease and you may have some of the ongoing issues that come from it. That would be the judgment part of it. So saying you have herd immunity, like Rand Paul likes to do, would also say to people maybe 5 years down the road, like, all right, during my interviews, I might need to watch for COVID brain with this one because there's a chance that he might have had the ancillary effects. Does he have a depleted immune system because they found out 5 years later that people who got it naturally got it like chickenpox and then ended up getting a version of like shingles in their lungs when it came back later because they didn't get the vaccine, and then we lose an employee and I've got a question right there. Like whether you've been vaccinated or not is not the HIPAA level protection that we're talking about. And people do that stuff all the time. It blows my mind because your kids need a vaccine card to go to school. Letting people you've been vaccinated for measles doesn't tell people whether or not you are genetically predisposed to have measles poorly or genetically predisposed to not have it at all or fight it off really easily. None of that. It doesn't tell your medical history. It just tells your vaccine record. It's kind of amazing. So,
So one more thing before I go. So some of those Discord servers that I mentioned, they do not allow any political talk whatsoever.
Sure.
So I do my best to follow those rules.
That's good.
And such. And with the same server that I was part of, where that lady made her rant, she told me to not talk about politics, and I was like, I wasn't even trying to talk politics. All I was doing was trying to share that I got my first vaccine. I wasn't even going to get into the political debate over any of this.
Right. On her end, that would be making it political. She was the one who made it political. It shouldn't be a political thing. You know what I mean? It's like saying I like wearing, I don't like wearing sandals to the beach. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? It's as political as that. But go ahead.
Yeah. It got me thinking, and I want to ask you this question. Like, are people just too afraid or too scared to talk politics anymore? Because I think that's what, aside from you and me not being afraid, there are just regular people out there that are just too scared to talk politics because we're just too grounded in our beliefs that we're not willing to listen anymore.
I hear what you're saying. And I appreciate it. Let me get to, I'll get to the next call on that, EO, and I'll answer it. But I would say that I don't think people fear politics or the discussion of politics. I think they fear the more violent and visceral reactions that they get from people when they talk about politics. It's not the discussion about it that scares anybody. It's the activist class jumping on everybody if they don't speak the jargon, if they don't operate within the parameters. That's what people fear. And that's quite frankly why a lot of people don't discuss, politics or religion at the dinner table and the like, is because it kicks you into your activist class behavior. And like I said, I don't necessarily believe I've lost my belief in the concept of left and right. I think they're kind of rudimentary concepts, especially since there are no, if the left is communism and the right is Wild West libertarianism at their most extremes, or Ayn Randian stuff, that doesn't exist in a functional world anywhere. So what people deride as the center is really planet Earth. And these people are talking to you from moon base a-hole. They live in a totally different environment, and therefore they're judging you based on their environment, not yours. And so a lot of people, I think, react to that way. We've got a couple minutes left, and I want to make sure Pat gets their statement in. So is Pat still on the line with us?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
I'm
great.
still here. How are you, Hal?
I'm good. Go ahead.
I'm calling you from Houston. I live in blue in a red state.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, what I'm calling about is I was just reading an article that Trump might run as a congressional candidate. And then oust Evans McCarthy. You don't think so?
No. What they were talking about, I know what you're talking about. What they're referencing is that you don't have to be a sitting member of Congress to be Speaker of the House. So what they were toying with the idea that Republicans, if they took control of the House, they could vote Trump in as the Speaker of the House. And then he would wrest control away from Biden and ruin his legacy and blah, blah, blah. They've been floating that. I think that concept is hilarious and beautiful. And the more Trump talks about it, the more pitiful he looks. But they were floating that around. Like, I heard that in December, the first week of December. You do not have to be a member of Congress to be Speaker of the House. The majority can vote you in as being that representative because you're a gaveler. You basically just make a schedule. So you don't have to be an elected representative, like that kind of thing. And so it's like you're technically the presiding person over the Senate is the vice president. In the case of a tie, that means that they're technically the presiding member. That's why they say Madam President and yada yada. That it not the senator from some. Even if you're sitting in that role, you're not there as your senator, and therefore you don't have to be. And someone else can represent that role because you're gaveling that out. So it's not going to happen. Just so you know. I mean, I love them talking about it. That's hilarious. And imagine again, he wants the White House. They're talking about Speaker of the House. He wants CNN and Fox News. He's got OAN and Newsmax. He wants big tech to love him through Facebook and Twitter and all those dollars back. And his son's on Rumble and selling Cameo videos. And he's a microblogger. This is the Trump business model. And it's quite frankly not original. It's the business model of a lot of second generation rich kids who glommed off their father or their mother's empire and just ran it into the ground. There is no there. He has none of the skill. They sent him off to Horton and he was terrible. He sent his kids to Penn. They didn't come out any smarter. It's a grifter class and they basically just need, the way they got what they wanted was to, beg at the foot of dad. And that's what they pass on to their kids. Not an education, not a function. That's how they do it. But next week, I look forward, if you guys will join us, we're going to go through Don McGahn's testimony. If I can get it on Friday night, I'll be very excited. I'll be up all night reading it. I have no doubt. The transcript from that will be fantastic. And of course, on my stream, either late tonight or Monday, depending on when I have it available, and I'll let you guys know online, more than likely it'll be Monday. I will be doing Trump's speech tonight for the North Carolina Republican Party because it will be hilarity. See you guys next week. Thank you guys. Thank you for becoming a patron. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Subscribing at fwank.com. FWANQ.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Johnny Million. Love you.
Love you.
The history of Air America lives
Thank you, Lady B.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay, Lady B.
Yes, we'll see you next week. Okay.
Patty said bye, Hal.
Okay, bye. Love you. Bye. Okay. And I'm so glad, John, you finally learned that the hang up online on the show versus the hang up afterwards is like a momentary little thing instead of tweet, tweet, like that. And yeah. So now we can say our goodbyes properly and that kind of stuff. Did you go for a run? Are you going for a run? What's happening?
I went for a run already this morning. Did 8 miles.
There you go.
And now I'm headed up
you had one shot. Did you let it slip or? Sorry.
I only had the one shot. I was I can't remember any of the lyrics now. I do like that song.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's very Gangster's Paradise. It really is. If there's a genre of those kind of songs.
Yeah, but which one was first?
Oh, Gangster's Paradise. That was the Michelle Pfeiffer movie. Remember the where she was the teacher?
Yeah. The Dangerous Minds.
Oh yeah. And this was way later. But yeah, okay, I mean, I want to say it was like 90s, like late 90s.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah, but I think there's got to be a.
I can't hear that song though anymore. That's one of the songs that the Weird Al version has.
Well, I did a spoof of it before Weird Al did. In my sketch group, I did a version, Coolio's brand cereal, because everything was selling out at the time. And so I was like, it's only going to be a matter of time before this ends up, And so it was like, as I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I take a look at my part of this nutritious breakfast. And like, tell me why are we so high in vitamin C, and the little marshmallows make the milk chocolatey. I was like, it was really, so it worked, that as a spoof, it was just like,
that's good.
It was ripe. Yeah. So that was definitely 90s because we did that in my sketch group. So that was 95, 96, whatever. Here Comes the Neighborhood. So, anyways, I'll let you go.
Another one that I adore is Rye or the Kaiser.
Yeah, it's the Rye or the Kaiser. Yeah.
Fat and weak.
Yeah, I mean, White and Nerdy eclipsed a lot of the old songs for me. It was so good. They see me mowing my front lawn. They all think I'm so white and nerdy. Think I'm so white and nerdy. And he had Donny Osmond in the video. It's amazing. Just amazing.
So good.
Yeah. So anyways, enough Weird Al talk. We adore him and love him. I can't wait till he's touring again. I know. Oh, by the way, you're going to have to come visit me soon. You're going to have to come because Gene Simmons just bought a house here, and that further that supports my theory that the end of the road tour is the beginning of the residency. Mm-hmm. And then we're looking at a Kiss show that more than likely has a Cirque component to it that rolls over into like Michael Jackson show. Michael Jackson 1 has a impersonator doing it. So you can kind of have people stand in or the real guys, and you can say, oh, it's the real guys on Thursday and Friday, but everybody else on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Those kind of things. The tickets are cheaper for the show. If you want to see it multiple times, you can, whatever, that kind of thing. I think there's a strong chance of that, but at the very least, he bought a house here, and I think it absolutely has to do with the fact that they're going to be doing a residency, a long-term,
that makes good sense.
Big residency. Just bring that whole stage that they brought and park it somewhere. It's either dragging it all over the place. So there you go.
They're coming back to Tinley Park.
I know. I'll be there. It's September. No, when is it?
Might be October even. No, it could be. That's got to be outdoor. It's outdoors, so it's probably September.
Yeah, I saw that in there. I was like, I gotta make a trip. We're gonna go. We'll go. We'll figure it out. I'm gonna make it happen. We're gonna go see it together. I insist. All right, I'll let you go. Bye. All
right.
Bye, Johnny. Let's say bye.
Love you.
Bye. See you later.
Bye, everybody.
There you go. And I'll end the meeting for all, and then it's just you and me. Hey, guys. All right, I have to run off. My kid and I are doing a little project together this afternoon, so I'm going to race off to that. If indeed I have that Trump speech later on today, depending on when. You ever heard of the band called Within Temptation? I have not, but I will look it up. Camden's doing awesome. Thank you, Amy. Yeah, he's doing great. We will be showing what the project is over time. I kind of winked at it yesterday, but it's it's STEM related fun with my kid. So I'll get more into that. We're going to be building, constructing, and playing and that kind of stuff over the summer. And so we're doing bit by bit all these things. I'll fill you guys in as we go along, and then we'll have a little display of what we're doing. But there you go. So all right, I'm going to sign off. Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. If I do see you later for this thing, the speech will be on C-SPAN. I'll do it way late. After my kid goes to sleep. More than likely, I'll do it Monday. So there you go. With our regular show, because it'll be a whole thing. Depending on how long it goes too. That'll be a factor as well. So we'll figure it out. But anyways, thank you guys for hanging in there. Sorry about the first part of the show not being up today because of tech issues, but here we are, and there we go. And hopefully it'll get better and better. I think there's an update for the software. So okay, I will see you guys later. Bye.